Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll take a roll call of supervisors. Or maybe not. Supervisors Dodge, Grady, Decker, and O'Day are excused.
Jill.
No, Jill's here.
No, she's not on there. She needs to.
Jill. Oh. Okay, we'll move on to citizen comments. If there are any citizens to speak, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Good evening, David T. DeBerg, 814 75th Street. It's a privilege to be here tonight, and as a U.S. citizen, a veteran of our great U.S. military, citizen of Kenosha, I would like to address the speech resolution authored by Mr. David Holland. I hope I pronounced your name correct, sir. First, I don't think you need this. And in the next 4 minutes, you'll hear why. Our country, and I want to address it legally, we were founded on truth and liberty. That may mean different things to different people, but it was based, Moses still holds the 10 Commandments above the Supreme Court. I know there's some people who like to sandblast them and get rid of them, but he's still holding them. Number two, we just had President's Day. George Washington, who's still on our $1 bill, they haven't gotten rid of that yet, he said, it is impossible to rightly govern without God and the Bible. We have freedom in this country. If you want to be an atheist, worship a rock, you can do that, but you still have liberty to worship God. You have an issue as to how you're going to govern, how you'll vote, how you'll legislate and regulate. The First Amendment, you should all know it. If you don't know it, I encourage you to memorize it because it's precious to our freedom. There have been a lot of people that have shed their blood so that even I could speak here tonight. Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech, the press, and the right to assemble. Even as I did my research out at Carthage College, even the ACLU stands for that. I'm going to tailor that to Kenosha. Kenosha County has no law establishing or respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise of freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peaceably assemble, and freedom to disagree without being labeled this, that, or whatever. Kenosha County, in your legal process, if you forget everything else I say tonight, freedom of speech, not restriction of speech. We need freedom of speech in the city, state, nation. There's countries, and I've been in them, where if you speak like this, they'll lock you up or do worse, and most of you know that. Just stay with me a little bit, and I'll wrap this up. David, I hope I can speak with you personally sometime. You want to know what hate speech is? When they fly the planes into our towers, that's hate. in Tehran when they raise their hand and say, "Death to America." And America believes in a whole wide variety of ways, freedom of speech, not restriction of speech. I love Israel. I've been there many times. He loves the Jewish people. You know, the 7 countries that were listed that Muslims couldn't come into our country, Jews can't go into those countries. And anything I say tonight, Google it. Go do the research, because truth will overcome ignorance, and light, a physic fact, light will overcome darkness. Under Sharia law, you know what they do? They kill homosexuals and cut people's hands off. And everyone in this room, if you have any knowledge, you know I'm speaking the truth. We are not under Sharia law in the United States of America, at least not yet. We are under U.S. constitutional law. The Islam worldview, and you can study it out, is to implement their values on our spheres of life. Last week, Mr. Kurt Gillespie wrote an excellent letter in the Kenosha News, Voice of the People. And he addressed Mr. Holman. He said, why not include all races, not just the black race or the Hispanic race, all races, every walk of life, in reducing hate speech and discrimination. That would be superior. Yellow, black, brown, and white. They are precious in his sight. And you know what? We all bleed red blood. In closing, and even I happened to pick up this information, the Prime Minister of Australia said, if people want to live under Sharia law, go back. When I was in the Air Force, we'll get the C-5s and C-130s. Anyone that wants to go back, go back. If you're going to come into this country, live under U.S. constitutional law. Dr. King, in closing, and I wanted to close on a high note, and they murdered him because he stood for truth. Dr. King said, and when I used to work in Kenosha Unified School, one of the famous quotes on Tremper Wall High School, it says, I have chosen love because hate is a burden far too heavy to carry. Dr. King was not an imam. He was a Christian minister, and he stood for truth. And I said all that, and I repeat this last thing. You know, they say, if you say something 3 times, you'll remember it. But please, when you vote, and I'm a praying man and a fasting man, meaning removal of the food, freedom of speech. Patrick Henry said, you know, he saw a man that was in stocks, and he asked, why is that man in stocks? Because he didn't have a license to preach. And he said, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. And you have one person in this city that feels that way, and I pray that more people wake up, because we need that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Pastor Ray Parrish, and I'm at 813 46th Street in Kenosha. You know, when I was going over this, the Lord gave me something. I'm going to be coming at it from a different way other than what Brother Dave did, but you know, it tells us in Leviticus, in the Word of God, in the 18th chapter, in the 22nd verse, it tells us that you shall not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Now, I want to reiterate something. I am not somebody that hates anybody. I do not hate anybody. I do not hate the person. I just hate the sin. Just like God does. God does not hate anyone. He hates the sin. And it has been noted that everyone that condones homosexuality, lesbianism, bisexuality, transgender, or the Q word, tells those that disagree with their lifestyles that they are talking hate speech. But I want to tell each one that when you come against we Christians and those that God has chosen as His people, which are the Jews, you are also speaking hate. The First Amendment, as Brother David said, gives us the right to speak, of free speech. And I would like to say we have to realize that our beliefs are going to be different than somebody else's beliefs. That doesn't make our beliefs any more right than your beliefs unless, and I've underlined it, unless it contradicts God. Because God's word is final. When the word of God says, thou shalt not, it means thou shalt not. It means thou shalt not unless there's a law passed that states something else. Because God's word is higher than man's word. No matter what we think, it's what God says in the end. God tells us in Genesis 1, the 27th verse, it said, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And as I've said on my program many a times, God made Adam and Eve. He didn't make any other kind of person but Adam and Eve. And we need to realize that God's not going to come along and turn around and make something else and say, well, because I made you like this, and you're not a man or you're a woman, I'm going to cast you into hell because I decided I was going to make you a different way. God does not do that. God either makes a man or a woman. And we have to understand that in 1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, the 9th and the 10th verses, it says, God says in the Bible, do you not know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. It's not my words, it's what God has said. God has said all this that I've said. I haven't said a thing. All I am is I'm the messenger. And like has been said before, don't shoot the messenger. Talk to God about it. If you're not believing what I say through what God is telling me to do, look it up. It's in the Bible. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Now, as already been said, if we ever got Sharia law in this town, in this country, wherever, United States, we would regret it from day one. Because they will behead anyone that doesn't agree with them. They will behead homosexuals. They will behead thieves. They will cut their hands off. They will do anything that they want to do because they know that the Sharia law is what's standing and everyone else has agreed with it, if it is allowed to come into this country. We cannot allow anything but God to be here. If we allowed God back in the courtrooms, if we allowed God back in the classrooms, we would see this whole country turn around.
Sir, you need to wrap up your comments.
Pardon?
You need to wrap up your comments.
And so we need to understand that God wants us to love instead of hate. And that's the main thing about this whole thing. Love instead of hate. And quit talking hate speech, which we don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Citizen comments? Seeing no other citizen comments, I'm going to close those and move on. We do have Felix Desimoni here from Paddock tonight, one of our youth in governance. And I think that's all I have. So we will go on to Supervisor reports. Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. At our PDEC meeting this month, we We heard that Youth in Governance had a record 257 students nominated. This is the highest number in 11 years. And the Youth in Governance interviews are scheduled for March 22nd and 23rd on the second floor of this building. Also, Teddy Wynette, director of the UW Extension, announced her retirement. And we thank her for her many years of service with UW Extension. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am giving an update on the Pringle Nature Center Board meeting, which was held January 18th, just last month. The chair reported that he would like to see the committees take a more active role in meeting their responsibilities. He brought in a book called the Nonprofit Board Answer Book and is planning on meeting with the rest of the board to form a strategic plan, so they would have some concrete ideas as to, how to go about doing fundraising, et cetera. The naturalist had attended a conference back in October, and one of the things she brought back from the conference was putting together an e-trail guide for the trails at the Pringle Nature Center. For committee reports, the outreach, they're working to recruit more active members, and they are also working on updating the corporate sponsor packages. For facilities, they've installed new gutters at the facility there, but unfortunately the water is draining onto the concrete and forming ice, which is a safety hazard, so they're correcting that issue, or they're working on it. And they're also working on spraying the cattails that are around the pond that is nearby, which will reclaim a good bit of the pond. They're also working on prairie restoration and invasive species removal. For the programs, the SPARK program is going to be coordinated with the museum, and they're working to increase attendance on that. And they're also working to increase attendance, the STEM program for girls. Apparently there's been insufficient interest, but they're hoping to continue the program. Okay. Old business, the Kenosha County contract with Pringle Nature Center, there haven't been any issues. And they are planning on building an addition and submitted plans to an architect, but it's not likely going to be funded by the county in the near future. So they're working on some fundraising plans to finance that. And then also some events on their calendar. They're going to have a Leave No Child Inside, an owl prowl on March 10th. They're going to have the maple syrup hikes at Petrifying Springs Park, also on March 10th, and the vernal equinox night hike on March 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Supervisor Boyd Frederick, you have the floor.
Thank you. It will be sent out by the county clerk in the next couple days, but at the legislative exchange, they handed out a PowerPoint going over what was known when it came to the governor's budget and the way the legislature is looking at different bills right now. You should receive that probably by Friday. Also, today, a couple meetings ago, Supervisor Berg brought forth a resolution when it came to UW Parkside. It was announced today that that was not included in the governor's budget. So we'll be looking, the legislative committee, since it was passed by us, we'll be looking at that situation and what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Frederick. Seeing no other lights.
County Executive Appointments, 46, Jan Mahalski to serve on the Racing Kenosha Community Action Agency Board.
Supervisor Gable? Oh, okay. Refer to Human Services.
Ordinance 1, Reading 36 from the Planning Development Extension Education Commission, an ordinance regarding Michael and Linda Gallagher, trustees of Revocable Trust, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County, 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland protection to farmland protection and suburban density residential, town of Paris. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Galitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Poole.
I move ordinance 36.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Poole.
This comprehensive plan amendment would allow a revision of map 65 of the comprehensive plan from farmland protection to farmland protection and suburban density residential. The town of Paris recommended approval of the request.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Ordinance 37 from Planning Development Extension Education Commission, an ordinance regarding Michael and Linda Gallagher, trustees of Revocable Trust, 1315 172nd Avenue, Union Grove, Wisconsin. Owner requesting a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District to A1 Agricultural Preservation District and R1 Rural Residential District, Town of Paris. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Skalitsky excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
I move ordinance 37.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Gilmore. Supervisor Poole.
This property is located on the south side of County Trunk Highway E, 12th Street, at the intersection of County Trunk Highway D, which is 172nd Avenue. The rezoning would allow for the land division of a 5-acre parcel. The town of Paris recommended approval of the request.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution, oops, sorry.
Did you have something? Supervisor Retzloff.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would like to have Resolution 91 brought to the end of our agenda tonight, and that we go through all these other appointments and such first. I ask for a second on that.
All right, I have a motion to move 91 to the end of the agenda. Supervisor Rose.
I see no reason to change the agenda that you have developed.
Do you want to vote?
No, any more discussion?
I know. Any other discuss? I don't see any other lights on here. There's been a roll call requested. Yes, if you want to move number 91 to the end of agenda. No, if you do not. Supervisor Franco.
Why do you want to move it to the end? Just, can you give a reason? So,
I'd like us to go through all these we're going to whip through all these appointments, and I think we could leave us some time for discussion, get rid of the agenda of all these things that will take a very short period of time. We have some guests here. We can get this done. They can stay as long as they want. It's just a suggestion. I don't, you don't want it, you don't want it. I just thought it'd be a polite thing to do to some of our guests, and that way we don't have to worry about the rest of the agenda so much. That's all.
okay, so,
Supervisor Skalitsky.
I seconded the motion because I believe there's going to be perhaps some detailed discussion and debate that would require a little bit more time. That's why I seconded it. I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't necessarily know that moving 91 to the bottom is necessary. I think maybe procedurally, and you might want to see Corporation Council's wisdom on this, if you move 92 through 104 all at once, seeing as those have already passed through committee, that might help expedite things. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Rose, did you have something else?
I do. Every meeting we have some controversial issue. We don't alter the agenda for any reason that I can ever think of. I don't really know what's behind this, but very frankly, this to me doesn't pass the smell test. I'm going to vote against it.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Any other? Supervisor Retzloff.
Okay, you're going way too deep, Supervisor Rose. Wow. Smell test? I just thought it would be polite to our guests. Wow. Okay, it's a smell test, I guess. Sorry. Let's vote. Jesus. Wow.
Seeing no other comments, roll call has been requested. Voting yes if you want to move 91 to the end of the agenda, no if you want to leave it where it is. We will proceed with number 91.
Resolution 91 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution authorizing a loan in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 to Bear Development LLC for the purpose of acquiring and constructing homes for the aged and indigent. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, excused. Kubicki, excused. Esposito, yes. Retzlaff, yes.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I would move the resolution.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose and a second by Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. I would inquire of the chair if Mr. Gersten is on the phone. He has made arrangements to at least be here by telephone and to respond to any questions, and I would like to have him available for the whole debate. He's out of town this evening. He regrets his inability to be here, but he did participate in the debate similarly at the Finance Committee last week.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose.
Just let me say a few words about this resolution, which I think is an important resolution of development for the community. Bear Realty, and they have representatives here this evening seated behind me, proposed to construct 2 senior housing buildings, one in Pleasant Prairie and one in Paddock Lake. One of them is going to cost approximately $8 million and the other approximately $9 million. They are attempting to qualify for what you call tax credits under legislation which was called the Reagan Tax Cut of 1984. The philosophy of this was to encourage the development of housing for seniors who have limited incomes, so the rents are graduated of approximately $400 a month to $900 per month, depending upon income. This is not what you call subsidized housing. So that is the origin of the legislation. Now, in order to qualify for this, Bear is in competition with others throughout.
You're outside and we're hearing the wind on the microphone.
Bear is in competition with other developers throughout the state for similar type of housing or projects. Another type of housing project similar, but not, I guess, in competition here, is the one downtown Kenosha, the KYF building. That is somewhat similar to this type of thing. So they have to seek community support, and they do have the support of both Pleasant Prairie and Paddock Lake, who want to see these developed. They must demonstrate in their application that the local community is behind such a project. And that's why this resolution comes before us this evening. The developer achieves points, and those points are to show the government that the local community is in support of these types of projects. So they come to Kenosha County and they are asking us for a loan in the form of this resolution in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000. Now, this loan is actually not going to be ever our money loaned to them. And in fact, it may never be a loan whatsoever, but we are demonstrating to the government that there is local support. Now, in the event that they need to borrow the $1,500,000, this resolution authorizes it. We're not going to use our own money to loan them, but we will use their money. So this is how it is done. A bank authorizes a letter of credit to Kenosha County. What's a letter of credit? Well, it's a document that says to us that at any time we can go to that bank and draw upon the $1,500,000, and then we can turn right around and loan it back to Bear Development for that purpose. So at no time is there any liability on our part that somehow we're going to lose the county's money if either one of these projects doesn't achieve its purpose, goes bankrupt, is abandoned in the middle, or whatever. There's no liability on our part. Staff has reviewed this. Corporation Counsel has reviewed us. Bond Counsel from Quarles and Brady has reviewed it. And Ehlers, our financial advisors, have reviewed it. So I think the proper professional vetting is behind the resolution, so that we can be assured in authorizing this loan that we are protected, the county's money is protected, and in the event that for some reason the loan is exercised, we're not using our money, but we're going to be using their money through this letter of credit. All of the costs that I previously mentioned, Ehlers' fees, Quarles and Brady's fees, those fees are going to be paid entirely by Bear Development. And that's all pointed out in the resolution. So what we have here tonight is a resolution that has been authored by has the endorsement of the two communities. It has been vetted by the professionals who have drafted the resolution. It is supported by the administration, and it is not that unusual, even though it perhaps is in a different form. If you recall, we have assisted in similar fashion the YMCA. We have taken positions on the KYF in downtown Kenosha. We've had a role in the Elks building in downtown Kenosha, even though that has not been developed to date. So the committee, I think, debated this rather thoroughly. There was some skepticism from some quarters at the beginning of the meeting, but when all was said and done at the last Finance Committee last week, the committee endorsed it unanimously. So we believe that in presenting this resolution this evening, you can be assured that Kenosha County is protected, that development will incur, that at least at current tax rates, the taxable amount for each one of for these buildings approximates $60,000, so that the community is bettered for it, and seniors who are living in this community who have low incomes can live in harmony and financial peace in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just wanted, he went over almost every point he could. It was perfect attorney. It was great. I can't really come up with any logical reason why we wouldn't support this. And the one thing I will add that he didn't cover was when he said that the costs would be paid by Bear to these other people that we've used to do our due diligence. You got to remember another thing on that too. If they don't get the municipalities to move forward, they're still going to pay this stuff for us. So there is truly no cost to the county. And he used a different word, but liability, or there's no risk to the county. So this is something that I think we need to do. Both the municipalities want it. From what I understand, it'll help one of the municipalities with their water and sewer lines. It's good business. There's no risk to the county on this. So I just wanted to add those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Retzlaff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe Supervisor Rose and Supervisor Gens explained this pretty well. If you remember, you might have gotten an attachment from me, or from April, I drafted that. I had these questions, and I was a little premature possibly with those because what was presented to us was not very clear at the time it was given to us. And I have made that known to the people that drafted that resolution. It didn't explain half of what we learned at the meeting. So put that aside. It is a very complicated lawyer-oriented document that has to be done in this, and that's okay. That's what they do. So everyone has said there is no risk. I went through that with the lawyers twice because I wanted to make sure. I think I vetted this personally pretty well, as long as other people on the committee. So I do endorse it. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzlaff. Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
To Supervisor Rose, I was under the impression this was going to be a mixed use, not a senior citizen.
As far as I know, you don't have to be a senior citizen, but that's the aim of it.
Okay, but there could be families in there and...
I think I would defer to Mr. Mills on that one. Steve, would you comment on that, if the chair would so allow?
Mr. Mills?
My name is, excuse me, my name is Steve Mills, and I'm here with two of my associates who've worked diligently in putting this plan together. As mentioned, we have support of Pleasant Prairie and Paddock Lake. And I think that part of this in the Paddock Lake is senior housing. The other is workforce housing. And then also in Pleasant Prairie, a similar situation. So it's a mix. We have senior housing, and we also have workforce housing. Hopefully that answers your question. And I have a gentleman here who can go over every detail if you choose to hear that. Thank you very much.
No, that's fine. I was under the impression it was mixed use, not just seniors. But that's fine. You answered the question.
Thank you, Supervisor Gable. Seeing no other lights? Oh, Supervisor Skalitsky, always at the last minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that it's been explained and reassured that the county is not responsible, but within the resolution, the third paragraph, it says, whereas ... assisting in the financing of the projects. When it says we're assisting in the financing, whether it's the chair or the director of finance, can somebody clarify how we are not responsible or I hate to use the term on the hook, but that will be liable for any types of failures of the project. I have a high degree of confidence it'll be successful, but when it says we're assisting in it, can somebody clarify that statement?
I'm sure that Supervisor Rose can. I heard him say it before. Supervisor Rose?
All right, thank you. First of all, the resolution is in the form of a loan not to exceed, and this involves the letter of credit. So in the event that they wanted to borrow the money pursuant to that resolution, we take the letter of credit immediately to the bank and get their money at $1.5 million. So we're returning it essentially to them in the form of the loan. That is the extent of our input into this project. We're not involved in the development of this project, clearly. So I think that is the answer to the question.
Okay, but the letter of credit is under the name of Kenosha County, and even if a letter of credit or the project is defaulted upon, letter of credit has to be reimbursed. Does that mean that the county does not need to reimburse the letter of credit if it is drawn upon?
Well, that's what I understand. It's an irrevocable letter of credit that we're not responsible.
I don't understand how we could not be, if our name is on it, be not responsible for it, and that's my only question of uncertainty.
Well, I think I've answered it, but
okay.
Bond Counsel is here. She advised the committee that way last week. She can reiterate it here this evening, but I think that what I've said is something that she would agree with, and I would, if the chair would allow her to speak, I would so request.
Supervisor Skalitsky, you need more clarification?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from her.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Bridget Keating. I'm from Quarles and Brady and represented the county in this transaction. And I think I can clear up your question about the letter of credit. The beneficiary of the letter of credit is the county. So the county will never pay the bank the money under the letter of credit. What the letter of credit means is that the director of administration, there is a certificate attached to the letter of credit, and actually you all have a form of the letter of credit attached to the resolution as Exhibit B. That last form is a page that the Director of Administration and Finance would literally just take to the bank, hand it to the bank, and the bank would turn over the amount requested, up to $1.5 million. So the county in no way would give money to the bank for the letter of credit. It's the opposite. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, Supervisor Skolitsky?
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As for the Paddock Lake portion of this, Bear Realty has plans to do 88 units in the tax increment district there. And of that, 50 units are senior apartments, 10 units would be for workforce, people who must be employed, and then for 28 single-family residences then. And other commercial development hopefully will occur after the apartments are built. So I would urge your approval of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Rose, did you have something else?
No, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Skolitsky.
Yes, I had one other question. I either read it or heard it, that both, or perhaps one of these developments was being built under a tax incentive district, and I don't know if there's any truth or anybody, perhaps Supervisor Poole or Supervisor Rose could clarify that, because that does affect when the tax base would be positively impacted.
Supervisor Rose?
You're talking about a tax incremental district? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Is that the correct? All right. Perhaps Mr. Gersten could answer that.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I can have the floor. It's my understanding that both developments will be part of a tax incremental district for both Pleasant Prairie and Paddock Lake.
Mr. Gertzen, do you know how many years that is intended for?
Is Jim Mann there yet from Ellers? I know he had been tied up, and he was en route, but he was working at Paddock Lake. He got tied up. He has the schedule of the timing of all of that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions, Supervisor
No,
Skolitsky?
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Poole has a...
Supervisor Poole?
Yeah, I was going to answer Supervisor Skolitsky's question. I am on the Paddock Lake TID board there, and it's for 20 years.
Thank you.
Just for full disclosure there.
Okay. It's my volume? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none? Roll call has been requested. Yes, if you're in favor of the resolution. No, if you are not. Dave, are you there? Okay. Is it 2/3?
Yeah, 2/3.
How many would that be?
It passed 19.
Motion passes unanimously.
So it passed unanimously with the ones that are here. Okay? Nope, you're good. Thank you. Enjoy your vacation. All right, bye. Okay, we're going to have a bunch of papers to sign.
Mr. Mills, good luck with your development.
Whenever you're ready. You ready? Should I move on?
Of course, I can multitask.
Okay. Resolution 92, resolution to approve the reappointment of Mark Midori to the Kenosha County Board of Health. Gable, yes. Hallman, excused. Dodge, excused. Poole, yes. Berg, yes. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
I move Mark Midori to the Kenosha Board of Health.
I have a first by Supervisor Gable and a second by Supervisor Berg. Supervisor Gable.
We voted on this. It was unanimous. We all know Mark. He's been on the county board.
Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 93, to approve the appointment of Gary Preston to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes. Hallman, excused. Dodge, excused. Poole, yes. Berg, yes. Blau, yes. Retzlaff, yes.
Supervisor Gable.
I move the resolution. They're all the same. I make a motion, we move 94 through 103.
4.
104.
104. Well, up to 103 has to do with combining two departments, aging and disability, and 104 is actually to the Brookside Board. So we're talking two different issues.
Isn't it to 104?
104,
It's
yeah.
to 104. They're all,
Okay, I move to,
to 104. I have a first by Supervisor Gable to combine through 104 and a second by Supervisor Hallman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead and read those. There we go.
All right, I read Resolution 93, so I'll move on to 94. Resolution to approve the appointment of Pam Device to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes. Hallman, excused. Dodge, excused. Poole, yes. Berg, yes. Blau, yes. Retzlaff, yes. 95, resolution to approve the appointment of Carroll Schaffel to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes. Hallman, Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 96, resolution to approve the appointment of Daniel Neuer to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes, Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 97, resolution to approve the appointment of Aaron Larkin to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 98, resolution to approve the reappointment of Ellen Kupfer to the Kenosha County Human Services Board. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. Resolution 99, to approve the reappointment of Supervisor Leah Blau to the Kenosha County Human Services Board. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau abstained, Retzlaff, yes. Resolution 100, to approve the appointment of Juan Torres to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 101, resolution to approve the appointment of Ronald Frederick to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 102, resolution to approve the reappointment of Linda Weiss to the Kenosha County Board of Health. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 103, resolution to approve the reappointment of Charles Burmeister to the Kenosha County Veterans Service Commission. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes. 104, resolution to approve the reappointment of Gabe Nudo to the Brookside Board of Trustees. Gable, yes. Hallman excused, Dodge excused, Poole, yes, Berg, yes, Blau, yes, Retzlaff, yes.
Thank you, County Clerk. Does anyone have any questions on any of those appointments? Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 105, from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement and Finance Administration Committees, a resolution regarding 2016 Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force's Strategic Initiative, FY17, funding for overtime. Judiciary and Law, Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Wamble, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Kubicki, excused. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Dodge, excused. Gens, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 105.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution is to accept $10,000 in funding from the Federal Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force's office to reimburse overtime costs associated with assisting the feds on special fiscal year 17 task force investigations. The funding will cover the period October 1st, 2016 through September 30th, 2017, and the funds will be used to reimburse for overtime incurred by detectives in the Sheriff's Department Drug Operations Group.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. I don't see any lights on here. This is a budget modification, so it does require a roll call. Motion passes.
Resolution 106 from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement and Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution regarding Wisconsin DOT Bureau of Transportation Safety Alcohol Enforcement Grant 2016-2017. Judiciary and Law, Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Wamble, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Kubicki, excused. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Dodge, excused. And Gens, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Resolution 106.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Blau.
Okay, this resolution is to modify expenditure and revenue budgets to recognize the expenses incurred and forecasted for participating with Racine County Sheriff's Department in extra patrol enforcement efforts focusing on alcohol and drug-impaired drivers. And the funding is offered through the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and the Bureau of Transportation Safety.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, this is a budget modification and requires a roll call. Motion passes.
Resolution 107 from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement and Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution regarding 2016 traffic control for Amazon Fulfillment Center, recognize revenue earned and modify expenditure budgets. Judiciary and Law, Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Wamble, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Dodge, excused. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, excused. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 107.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution is a request to modify the Sheriff's Department 2016 Patrol Division budgets for personnel costs incurred to and recognize expected revenue earned for extra patrol efforts requested of Amazon to control the Amazon Fulfillment Center employee parking entrances at shift changes during their busy period beginning November 14th through December 23rd, 2016.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. This is a budget modification, requires a roll call. Supervisor Elverman, can you confirm your vote? Thank you. Motion passes.
Resolution 108 from the Planning Development Extension Education Commission, a resolution regarding Michael and Linda Gallagher, trustees of a revocable trust, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County, 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan from farmland protection to farmland protection in suburban density residential, town of Paris. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 108.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Gilmore. Supervisor Poole.
This property is located on the south side of County Trunk Highway E 12th Street at the intersection with County Trunk Highway D 172nd Avenue. The state requires a resolution from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee and an ordinance from the full county board to amend the comprehensive plan. This resolution would allow an amendment to the Kenosha County Comprehensive Plan for a change from suburban density residential to suburban density residential and medium density residential. The town of Paris recommended approval of this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 109 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Commission, a resolution regarding proposed comprehensive plan amendment. Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee sponsor. Request approval of draft annual report, a multi-jurisdictional plan for Kenosha County 2035-2015 annual report. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 109.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Poole.
This resolution would approve the 2015 annual report relative to a multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan for Kenosha County 2035. The Kenosha County Multi-Jurisdictional Advisory Committee reviewed and recommended approval of the annual report at their meeting of February 24th, 2015.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 110 from the Public Works Facility and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution regarding We Energy's permanent easement request within Petrifying Springs Park. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. Franco, yes.
Stay awake.
Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 110.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman and a second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you. This is a request from We Energies for an easement. We are tearing down one of the barns in the service yard at Petrifying Springs Park. The power source goes to that barn. We need to have an easement to have that source moved to the gas pumps and to the other utility areas on the property. So I'm asking for your approval for We Energy's easement.
Thank you, Supervisor Elverman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Communications from Andy M. Bueller regarding future items scheduled before the Planning, Development, Extension Education Committee.
Receive and file.
Claims 23, Zendel Vizelli, personal injury.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the February 7th, 2017 minutes by Supervisor Poole.
Motion to approve.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Franco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adjourn. Actually, I had one back there. I have a first by Supervisor Kubicki and a second by Supervisor Skalitsky. All those in favor to adjourn? Aye. Opposed? Opposed. We're adjourned. Thank you.